Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today we are going to do a video on top coats. So back some time ago when I started my channel, I do have a top coat video on there. So this is kind of an update. These are top coats that I use in my shop all the time. So I would guess you want to call them kind of my favorites. I interchange them depending on the projects. So today I'm going to go over each of them. I'm going to talk about how I apply them. And then kind of some of the processes of applying each one of them. So we have a few to go through, so I'm going to go ahead and jump in and get started. So we're going to start with the first one here. This is the General Finishes High Performance Top Coat. This is one of my staples. It's kind of one of my all-time favorites, and I use it for most of my painted projects. So how I apply these, and I'm going to show you guys a couple of the tools that I use, but one of the things that I wanted to mention is I do spray this, and a few of these you are able to spray. So if you have a sprayer, that's great. If you don't, then no worries, I'm not going to go too in detail. I use, in case you're wondering, an Urlex 5500 and a Fuji Semi Pro 2. I have two of them. The Urlex was my early purchase and the Semi Pro 2 was kind of an upgrade, but they're both excellent sprayers and I still use both of them. I interchange them just depending on my mood and what it is that I'm spraying. So I do spray this. You get an absolutely flawless finish. Basically just pour it right out of the can. I don't thin it. It's such a great consistency and it sprays really well. So if you have more questions about sprayers, then put them down below and I'll make sure I get back to you. So the other way that I apply my top coats, I use a foam brush. I love these foam brushes. I get these from my woodworking store. They're not all foam brushes are created equal, so just know that. I did a brush video just recently and I talked about that. Some of the cheap brushes, tops fly off. That's the worst thing when you're top coating for that to happen. So invest in some decent brushes. I get these in all three sizes, small, medium, and large. And they work great for top coating. The other thing I like to use are these. So this is a painting sponge. I've talked about these also in that video, but these you can use for top coating and they're absolutely excellent. For larger surfaces, they work great. So you can use these with water-based top coats, wash them out, reuse them, good to go. So check it out, my other brush video, if you want some more information on those. Again, any questions, just put it down below. I'll tell you where you can purchase them. I'll list out everything that I'm talking about here today, all the products and then the tools that I use as well. So the High Performance Top Coat is their water-based polyacrylic. And like I said, it goes on really nicely. It will take you, I would say with any top coat, plan on doing 2 to 3 coats. One top coat is not going to do it for you. So if that's what you're thinking, it's not only not going to give you the durability and the longevity of having a long-lasting piece of furniture, it's just not going to give you that full coat on that first coat. So a tip that I'm going to tell you guys when you're applying your top coats, 1, don't rush it. And 2, know when to walk away. And 3, realize you're not going to cover everything in that first coat. Whatever you don't get, let's say you see a big dry mark, you'll pick it up in your second coat or your third coat, not to worry. So that one, the High Performance Top Coat, is one of my #1. Love it. Now they do come in 2 different sizes. I get the quarts. You can buy the pints. And then instead of talking about each one's price point, I'll list it down below in the video so you guys kind of have an idea. So there's that one. The other General Finishes product one that I use is this one. This is the General Finishes Armor Seal. This is an oil-based top coat. I primarily use this for all of my stain projects. So with that being said, there may be a question of, what is the difference between the water base and the oil base? Can I use a water base on stain projects? Can I use an oil base on paint projects? So I'm going to try to clear that up for you simply. The answer is you can use both for both, but here's what I'll tell you. I use oil-based on my stain projects, my oil-based stain projects. It just gives it a beautiful finish. The Armor Seal is an extremely tough, durable, given the name Armor Seal. It's wonderful for kitchen tables, tabletops that are going to experience high use. Definitely recommend that. I don't use that on painted projects. what will happen with an oil-based polyurethane is if you use it over a painted project, let's say you've got a light colored project, you're going to yellow or amber the color of that project. You're going to alter the color. And so you don't really, unless that's what you're looking for, you don't really want to use an oil-based polyurethane over your painted projects. Steer clear of that and stay with your water base. Your water base is really intended for your painted projects. It shouldn't yellow. Now some do, so I say it shouldn't because I can't guarantee you every product that's a water-based top coat won't yellow your project, but theoretically it shouldn't. So I stick with a water base for all my painted projects. With that being said, you can use a water base over a stain project if that's your preference. So there's that. Then I've got, this one is kind of new to me. I just did a video. This is the Wise Owl Varnish in satin, and obviously you can see a trend here. I use satin. Satin is a wonderful finish. It's just one I really like. It's a step up from the matte, but it's not super shiny. And for clients, that's what most of them request is the satin, and it's just one that I really like. So most top coats will come in 4 different sheens, so you've got selections. But the Wise Owl Satin Varnish is one that I just tried. I did a video on a Wise Owl chalk paint project using the top coat, their top coat. Like I said, it's new to me. I just started using it about 2 months ago, I believe, and I really like it. So one of the things with top coating that you might find if you're not familiar with it, it can be challenging. So you might have a perfectly painted or stained project, and then you go to top coat, and it's disastrous. Top coats, they're not difficult, but they can be a challenge to work with, to get it to lay down right, to get it to not overlap, to get no brush marks or strokes in there, to make sure that it comes out and nothing flies in it. All those things can happen, and it can be very frustrating. And top coating, you don't have to work fast, but you do have to kind of work at a little bit faster of a pace. They set up pretty quickly. So the workability time with most top coats is not super long, and that's why I say you need to put it on and walk away. If you try to overwork it too much, you just end up creating a mess for yourself. So with this one, the one perk that I did notice with this, it had a little bit more workability time than some of the others that I've used in the past. And so I really enjoyed working with this. I've done a couple of whole pieces as well as just dresser tops, and really, really nice. So this is also a very good one. All of the water-based products can pretty much be thinned or watered down. Usually you want to read the can. They'll give you an idea. You can thin it 10% or whatever it is you need to. My experience with a lot of the water-based products is that they are pretty thin, and I haven't needed to thin them out, but you definitely can. Just make sure you read each of the brand instructions on the cans. So now we're going to move into Fusion, which I have 3 from Fusion, which I really, really like all 3 of them. So I do use all of these. You wonder maybe how do you choose? You said you use the high performance top coat primarily. I do, but that's when I'm spraying. I use that one when I'm spraying. There are other projects that I might need to wipe one on, or it just depends. So I do use them all, and I really like them all. This one by Fusion, this is their wipe on poly, and it's their tough coat, clear tough coat. It's a matte wipe on poly. So how is that different? So first of all, I love the packaging because you literally can just pour this out in a disposable dish, pour a little, add to it. You're not going to have a lot of waste. And so I do like the packaging on this one, but that aside, it's a great top coat because it gives you a slightly different finish with the matte finish. It also is a little bit different for the application process because it's a wipe on, and it's non-yellowing. It says right here on the label, and I can attest to the fact that I've done several Snow White, Pure White, Antique White, lots of whites in this workshop, and I use this one on that because it does not yellow or change that color whatsoever. So with this one, it says, I want to tell you guys because it says basically they tell you to apply with a damp applicator sponge, or you can spray this to avoid streaking. Most of these, just so you know, are all the water-based products are 2 to 4 hours for recoat time. Oil-based is going to be longer. So just keep that in mind. Each oil-based product will tell you on the label how long it's going to take. My experience is that if I'm putting an oil-based top coat on, I put one coat on one day and then I come back the next day. I don't want to rush it, and so I fully let that set up. So anyway, this Fusion Tough Coat is a really good non-yellowing wipe-on matte finish. So this is something to keep in mind if you're looking for maybe not so much sheen, you're looking for a little maybe easier application, and you definitely are looking for something that's going to not yellow your white pieces. Try this one out. And then they have this one here, which is hemp oil. And I really like the hemp oil. I've gone through several bottles of this. Same application or same packaging. So you're going to pour out what you need. Now this one though, what I do is I pour this directly on a rag. The application process for the hemp oil is a little different. What I do is I pour out what I need on my rag and I start working it into my piece. Then you set your timer, you come back 30 minutes later and you wipe off the excess. This gives just a little added luster. You can use this on top of a stained project. You can use this on top of a painted project. It's very versatile. I love using this on dark pieces. So if I have a black or maybe a navy piece, I'll finish this off with hemp oil just to give it that little extra added luster and richness, and it's really, really awesome. So this is another one to give a try. And then I started using this one not too long ago on some of my stain projects. Here's the thing, you can work with a product for years and then all of a sudden you start experiencing problems with it and you're thinking, why all of a sudden is this not working? I'm finding it harder to work with, it's cloudy, it's being very temperamental. My recommendation when that happens, try something else. That's why I have all of these in my shop, is that sometimes what worked for me back some time ago just isn't working right now. Maybe it's the climate, maybe it's me, maybe it's the piece, who knows? So I like to have options, and that's why I'm showing you all of these. This is the Fusion Stain and Finishing Oil, and these actually are stains that come in different colors as well. This one is the natural and can be used as a top coat. You can use this over paint and stain as well. This one, the application process is super easy. So look, if you're afraid of the challenge of top coating and getting that absolutely perfect finish, this is a good one to try. So what you do with this one is I apply with a sponge applicator. I set my timer for 10 to 15 minutes. I come back with a lint-free rag and I wipe off the excess. Now you're not going to wipe, hard as if you were wiping back stain or anything like that. You're just going to be wiping off the excess. 8 hours later, you come back and you can apply another coat, or you can leave it depending on if you like the way it looks, and it just adds that extra little bit of sheen. The stain and finishing oils are matte, but what I have found when I add the natural on top of any of my projects, I would say it's kind of in between a satin and a matte. It's just a little bit of a luster or a sheen. This is super easy to apply. The only problem that I have with this is they only make them in this size, which is kind of a bummer. This is the half pint. I wish they made them in bigger. And the other thing is they are a little more costly for the amount of product you're gonna get. So that's the only bummer part about it, but I like the product so much that whatever, I still buy it. So there's that one. Now, we're going to talk about our last product, which gets a bad rap a lot of the time. And, I just don't get it, but I've been using it for about 6 years. And so for me, I really like it. And yes, I still use it on projects in my shop. And that is the wax. Now, this is just one of the waxes I have. This is the Annie Sloan wax. It also does come in different sizes. You don't have to get the large tub. They do have a smaller sample size. But, I'm going to tell you a little quick story. 6 years ago, when I first started, I had not done any furniture, I think, at this point, and I decided to tackle my cabinets. I have a very big sea of cabinets in my kitchen. So I did front and back, uppers and lowers, all the boxes, all the drawers. It was, by the time I was done, I was so overwhelmed, but I stuck with it, painted them all, loved it. Not only did I do clear wax, but I did dark wax on the uppers. Yes, my arm was about ready to fall off, and yeah, I thought, wow, not doing that again, only because of the process in which it took so much work. Obviously, if you're doing one piece of furniture, it's not going to be as bad. However, I want to tell you guys, 6 years later, now my cabinets, my uppers are done in antique white. It's like an antique white, old white, I think they call it. And the lowers were done in graphite. 3 boys, 3 teenage boys, always hungry, always in the kitchen, like seriously all day, every day. And they have held up beautifully. So for those of you that are a little hesitant because you've heard that wax is not a good top coat, done the right way, it's an excellent top coat. And I say done the right way because there are the right ways and the wrong ways to wax. So if you're curious about what that is, I do not have a video, but there's plenty of them out there on it. So go catch a video on what a good way or the right way to wax is. I personally add wax with a wax brush. It's just what I like to put on with. Now you can wipe on wax with a rag and wipe off with a clean rag, no problem. So as a matter of fact, let me show you guys. This is one of my wax brushes. This is an Annie brush. I got this one just recently because my other ones, after 5 and 6 years, I had 2 of them and they completely were ready to be replaced. So I apply with this and I wipe off with a rag. Also, if you wait I think it's like a day or 2, you're going to wait in between after waxing, you can buff that piece and give it more of a sheen as well. Originally, it will put on kind of a matte buttery finish, but if you buff it, you're going to end up with a slightly higher sheen and pieces come out just beautiful. So yes, I do still use it today and I do recommend it. I love waxing. I have Fusion Wax, Annie Wax, and some Wise Owl wax, and I use those frequently. So and they do come in different colors too, so that's also an advantage. So don't be afraid to wax. It is a good top coat given that you put it on the right way. So there's all of that information about the top coats. Now I do want to mention a little bit of a process. So I get asked often, do I sand in between top coats? And 98% of the time I'm going to say, oh yeah. Unfortunately, it's a very small percentage of times where I put on a first coat and there's perfect coverage, nothing has flown in it, no requirements to sand it. Now, if you ever get that, go with it. Do not sand it if it doesn't need to be sanded. But if it does, there's 2 things that I recommend. Now, different people have different opinions on this and will give you, different products to use. This is what I use. It works for me, and I've never had any issues. The first thing that I use, this is a sanding pad. This is an Annie Sloan sanding pad. You don't have to get those. I just happen to have a bunch of them in my shop. This is an ultra fine sanding pad, so it's not going to put any scratch marks in between your coats of top coat. It's going to just kind of get out maybe some rough spots, maybe if you have some lint that flew in there, anything where you might feel that it's not smooth and you want to smooth it out, I use these. So if you're just going to go to your hardware store and get sanding pads, you want to go ahead and get the finest one that they have. So there's those that I use, and I use those all the time. The other thing that I like to use is steel wool. I use quadruple zero steel wool. Again, the idea is you're not going to be sanding and putting a lot of pressure. You're just trying to knock down whatever texture or whatever, dry spot or anything like that. You're just kind of trying to smooth that out just a tiny bit before you put on your next coat. So then that leads you to, okay, now I've done that. What do I wipe it down with to ensure that, I get all of either the little steel woolly things off or some of the sanding dust off? So here's what I'm going to tell you. Tack cloths are great, but I do not use them for sanding in between top coats. Tack cloths have oil in them and can deposit that oil onto your surface and may have a reaction or a problem with your second layer of your top coat. So what I like to use, sorry, didn't have one out, but I like to use these guys, microfiber cloths. I can reuse, I rewash all the time. I stick all the microfiber cloths together in the laundry so that I don't get any other lint or anything from other things. I wash them all together. I take a clean microfiber cloth. I wipe down my entire piece, dry, not wet. I wipe it down. couple times, make sure that I've gotten all that lint off, and I'm good to go. Now I'm ready to go ahead and apply my second coat. So that's kind of the process for when you're top coating. So that's it, you guys. If you have any questions or comments, please make sure you leave them down below. I hope this video was helpful for you guys today, and thank you so much for being subscribers. Keep subscribing so you can get all of my videos, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.